First of all, thank you everybody for staying. I know it's getting late. Just quick context before we bring up the entrepreneurs. This will be quick, this will be fun, it'll be fast-paced. The Cairo Society started in 2008. Entirely student-run, really simple goal, finding the world's most promising entrepreneurs and connecting them to each other so that the people who are going to shape the industries of the future actually have a chance to get to know each other while they're younger. This has evolved substantially because what we found is it's not just about entrepreneurs with the ambition to solve problems. These are entrepreneurs from all corners of the world who are literally building solutions that address meaningful global challenges or building technologies that could actually change the way multiple industries interact. And they have products, they have prototypes. This isn't about ideation, this isn't about the hope of changing the future. There's been so much rhetoric in a lot of the conversations around funding at this event. And I mean, we don't get me wrong, it's a good thing, but a lot of the conversations have been about, we want to fund things that matter, or we want to deploy our capital into meaningful problem spaces. Well, with the Cairo Society, we find hundreds of entrepreneurs who are literally working on these challenges, and our goal is to help their businesses get to market. Funding is a key aspect of the ecosystem, but we think it's not enough to raise your seed round. We actually think success is getting your product to market, solving the problem you're addressing, and actually affecting people's lives. So with that in mind, we have 4 awesome entrepreneurs who came from different corners of the country and the world to join you. They're going to talk quickly about the problem they're solving and the solution they've built, and then that'll be a wrap on DLD. So you guys all come up. First up's going to be William. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is William, and I'm in the education industry. Now, when I started in the education industry, I always thought that teaching was easy. I thought that teachers taught from a textbook and that they got their 3-month off every year. But boy, was I wrong. It wasn't really until when I visited my own high school teacher that I realized that they were struggling. Every day after school, they were planning their lessons, assessing their own students, and they even told me they're dealing with a bureaucratic administration and they're fending off the angry parents. Now I said, I can't solve those latter 2 problems, but I'm happy to help you to make your lives easier. That's why I've created Chalk.com. Now Chalk.com is a productivity suite designed for kindergarten to grade 12 teachers to help them with their daily workflow, such as lesson planning, assessment, and attendance. And today, we're used in over 20,000 schools worldwide. But that's today. We're looking at education decades from now. And as you know, the current day education system is designed for the industrial era. Right? You may have heard the word factory model, where a student is divided by their age, and information is disseminated from the very top at the exact same pace. So we ask, how do we adapt education into today's knowledge-based economy? And this is actually a question that every school district is asking. The answer is actually quite simple, and that is to create personalized education for all learners. This will help people to learn, not only to learn, but to motivate them to learn even after they've graduated out of the formal education system. So why aren't we there yet? Well, if you think about the current system again, we're talking about kindergarten to grade 12. It's not very feasible to scale that. It's not very feasible to have 30 teachers per 30 students. We just don't have that resource. But that's all changing because of technology. And at Chalk.com, we believe in the role of the teacher. We're not here to get rid of them. We're not here to displace them. In fact, we support them. And we're building technology that will bring personalized education into the classroom. This is only the beginning of a revolutionary change in education. Thank you.
Next up, we have Colleen from VitalVio.
Good evening. I'm Colleen Costello, president and co-founder of VitalVio, and we're based out of New York. So our company was founded based on the premise of using lighting, particularly digital lighting, to reduce the incidence of hospital-acquired infections. I was actually first personally introduced to this problem, which is the #1 patient killer in many countries, when my grandmother contracted a MRSA infection while receiving care within a healthcare facility. These type of infections can be simply described as someone entering a facility for care and ending up more sick than they were when they entered. In the US, for example, this kills more people than breast cancer, AIDS, and car crashes combined every single year. A large contributor to these infections occurring is contamination within the environment, on the air and in surfaces, and then people actually interacting with the environment and transmitting germs throughout the facility. The two main factors that have gotten us into the dilemma that we have in these environments where we're supposed to be taking care of people are the speed and ease of which the bacteria can actually transmit throughout a facility and the ever-evolving resistance due to things like overuse of antibiotics, for which the World Health Organization has cited on par with climate change. The second one being the limited tools that we have in our arsenal to actually defend against these types of germs. Current cleaning is intermittent and actually in most cases is harmful to be continuously used around people. So our team, looking at the incidence of infections and the challenges that we have with the current solutions not adequately addressing these problems, basically took a look at disinfection in a new way. So with advancements of LEDs, for example, which are new methods of generating frequencies of light, as well as advancements in software that we use to actually drive our embedded hardware, we're able to come up with a system that is continuously and safely subduing the transmission and growth of bacteria in healthcare facilities. This lighting installs like any standard lighting fixture that you would have in an overhead environment. Most people conventionally assume that we're using harmful ultraviolet light, but we've actually designed a unique spectrum that is targeting receptors that are in microorganisms but that are not in people. So through a white light platform, we can actually be continuously disinfecting an environment. Now, hospitals are not the only facility that has risks associated with contamination or infection. Bacteria are a really crucial portion of our society and how we live on a day-to-day basis. But when we have 60 individuals killed from one single contamination in a compound pharmacy, or 600 people infected over the course of a year with salmonella from one specific food processing facility, we can certainly recognize that there are environments that could use additional disinfection protocols. And that's currently the goal of our company, is to reduce the incidence of these types of events in healthcare facilities and other facilities with our currently commercially available product that we're implementing throughout the United States right now. And basically through a variety of advancements in technology in a variety of different fields, all converging together, we're able to develop this revolutionary system that's not limited by things like human behavior or how often a facility can actually get a chance to clean, but just limited by where they have their lighting currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Tim from Fiscal Note.
Good evening, DLD. So my name is Tim Hwang. I currently serve as the founder and CEO of a company called Fiscal Note. Over the course of the last 2 days or so, we were able to talk very extensively about the dizzying pace of technological innovation. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk to you today about the dizzying pace of legal and regulatory activism that's going on across the world today. So in the United States alone, there are over 600,000 pieces of legislation that are proposed every single year. Over the course of a single year as well, you see over 1 million pieces of regulatory action that are proposed in the federal government alone. Now, this pace of very dizzying regulatory activism is having its impact across industries from pharmaceuticals to medical devices to financial services to energy. And what this results in is actually a very, very weird system where there's a series of political uncertainty that impacts industries today. So we saw this yesterday in the case of Uber and the massive amount of political uncertainty that they're currently facing in cities and municipalities around the world. We saw this again in financial services in the way the technological innovation of financial services is conflicting with the current regulatory frameworks that are out there. And so the political uncertainty that's currently out there is serving as an incredible barrier for technological innovation moving forward. Now, the traditional way of resolving this political uncertainty has been a $1 trillion industry known as the legal industry, combined with political journalism and the sort of advent of digital journalism that's really come out in the last couple of years. but it's not a very scalable way of looking at regulatory activism across the world. So what we do at FiscalNote is we aggregate legislation, regulations, court cases from around the world, categorize them into about 65 different industry verticals using natural language processing, and then run a series of analytics to look at things like the probability of a bill passing, or frequencies of different laws and regulations that are promulgating across different states and different jurisdictions. And so what this results in is a level of certainty that's injected into the legal and political system that allows corporations, organizations, individuals to be able to understand very effectively what's going on in their governments. Today, we're used in a variety of different organizations. In financial services, we're used by JP Morgan. Uber is one of our biggest customers as well in the technology segment. We're used in energy, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, and we're informing attorneys, compliance professionals, and government affairs professionals around the world and letting them know about the compliance issues and regulatory issues they're facing on a day-to-day basis. As we grow the company, our long-term vision is to build an end-to-end system in which attorneys are able to modify laws and regulations in real time and modify them for their organizations to understand the operational challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
Finally, we have Mikhail from Digital Genius.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Mikhail. At Digital Genius, we're building artificial intelligence technologies for Fortune 500 companies, governments, and banks. And AI is a huge buzzword these days, as you know. We focus specifically on next-generation conversational technologies and natural language processing. So the ability to teach technology to understand human beings and then to be able to make intelligent decisions based on those conversations. And let's take a little history lesson and take a flashback. 200 years ago, the Industrial Revolution has enabled all of us to outsource repetitive manual labor, and enabling a huge spike in productivity and output. We believe that the next step of this, the next stage of this evolution, is the automation of repetitive intelligent labor. So giving humans a chance not to have to do the things they should never be doing in the first place. For example, every time I get on an airplane, before I do so, I spend about 15 minutes calling my telecom provider and my bank to activate global roaming and obviously to put a travel notice on my card. And that process takes too long, it's too expensive, and it's ridiculous. It should be as easy as texting my mom, hey, going to Munich for 3 days, please make sure that my phone works well. And so we're helping these companies do that at scale. And it's not just like a Siri that helps you look up for the weather, but it's an NLP that can be used in all aspects of your life. So essentially we believe that efficiency will be gained by companies that use our technology to enable these conversations. And at Digital Genius, that's what we believe in. Thank you very much.
So we've seen everyone present. A little bit of context. We started in 2008. There were 10 accelerators, not 180. Times have changed, and the notion that you can be young and start a business, I think, is more widely accepted. But we still think you need proof of concept. So just as there have been plenty of 22-year-old entrepreneurs starting social media and photo sharing companies, we believe there's going to be another generation of entrepreneurs proving that you can tackle really difficult challenges in really complex industries. And everyone here is, I think, underselling a little bit. William's product is used by thousands of teachers. Colleen's product has been piloted by hospitals, and both Tim and Mikhail are actually, actively working with multiple Fortune 500 clients and governments. So, again, these are not entrepreneurs who are looking for you to seed fund their idea. They're in the trenches, they're doing it, and it's simply a matter of how are they going to get to market as quickly as possible so they could actually build this business and be following their dreams for the next 5, 10, 30, 40, 50 years. With that in mind, I think we'll open up the floor to Q&A, or else I will just continue to moderate. We only have 5 minutes left, so this will be quick. Anyone have any questions? No worries, I'll keep asking them. Oh, we got one. Scream it, yeah.
So to FiscalNote, my question is, how do you keep a bay of new channels, new online petitions to, estimate the probabilities of a bill passing through, for example? So how can you, in a way, make sure that you keep a bay of those?
Sure. So it's a fascinating question. So basically what we've done on the back end is we've created a web crawler that goes out. It scrapes government websites on pretty much on a real-time basis. So what we do is we take all that information, we normalize that data on the back end, run a a series of natural language processing algorithms on top of that to be able to look at the categorizations that I talked about. And so once that data is actually packaged, what we do is we run a series of machine learning algorithms. So in the case of, let's say, legislative forecasting, what we do is we look at roll call data, campaign finance data, demographic data, and the relationships between legislators and policymakers to be able to understand what are the main drivers of legislative regulatory action. And it's interesting because our forecasting algorithms have actually been about 94% accurate in the United States in terms of predicting whether or not a bill will pass any given legislature. And so it's very fascinating to watch different use cases in, let's say, new tax legislation, passing through 13 different legislatures, like an online sales tax, and the impact that might have on e-commerce or on online sales or whatever the case may be. And so I think that the more interesting thing for us is not, obviously the technology is great, but the interesting thing as we continue to develop the company will be the use cases.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Okay, so since you're all trying to solve social problems at your own community levels, my question is that whether you expect any sort of institutional supports from the government and local organizations, both in terms of mentorship or funding, or you resort to, again, angels or VCs?
I think I can speak for all of us. We've all raised actually funding. So we definitely have, each one of us have our own supporters, whether that is mentors, investors, or from our local community.
I can touch on a little bit that we also, in addition to institutional finance, have also been funded by things in New York State. For example, energy research development. They're seeing a slower uptake of LED retrofits in hospitals, so they see something that we're doing as something that could potentially speed that process up. And even with infections being the largest problem in the US on a federal level, there's a lot of funding available for new technologies to pilot and start to expand out. And we've actually looked at some emerging markets as well for the same type of funding.
Yeah, on our side, we've raised 3 rounds of venture capital so far. And the interesting thing is that age is not an impediment to success in technology. If you have the technology, you find the product market fit. I don't think that I don't think that there's any real impediment to you going off and accomplishing what you want to accomplish.
In our case, especially in the early days, we were funded by the best source of funding, which is real client revenues. And for us, that was a huge beacon because that meant we were actually creating something that the market really wanted and was willing to pay for. And that gave us enough traction in the early days to really scale up.
In some markets, the biggest barrier is a cultural barrier where people don't even believe that they can start a business, or they're scared of failure. So some governments, like Chile, for example, will fly in other entrepreneurs to speak and prove that you can actually be 22 and have a business. So it's different based on the geography. Yeah, you were definitely first. You have the mic.
I would like to ask William, because I also deal with trying to help teachers to be better or makes their life easier. Do you work on the level that you address the teachers directly, or do you work with the school governing bodies? And I often see resistance in teachers being open for ideas to help them. Do you see that differently, or was it just a lot of work to convince them?
We work with both at the teacher level and at the district level. Education is a challenge. Getting into the system is a challenge. But if you have something of value to the teachers, it could be as simple as saving them time, they will use it. And our products are completely free for kindergarten to grade 12 teachers. They're able to sign up, use it free. And funny thing is, they start spreading the word organically. And it's actually, in our earlier years, we were struggling as a company because the cracking the business side was hard. But it turned out that it's actually the teachers that cracked it for us, because they were the ones that told their administrators, that told their districts about our product, and that made the sale.
I think we have time for one more. There's already house music blasting upstairs.
All right, so I'll take this opportunity to be the last question of the day. And my question is to Mikhail. Is your NLP technology, or maybe you know about the state of NLP technology in general, is it powerful enough to replace teachers or help them automate answering questions about homework assignments, or is it not ready yet?
That's an excellent question. It's one we hear all the time when we speak to clients. And the thing is, AI has gotten a really bad rep in the last few months. I'm sure you guys know who Johnny Depp is, and you've seen the movies about machines taking over the world. Well, it's not all that bad, especially when we use AI and NLP to help and assist real people make real decisions. So why waste the teacher's valuable time answering questions that can easily be answered through a virtual mentor of sorts, and actually give those teachers a chance to teach? And some of the best teaching methods are question-based themselves. So the real teacher's job is not to answer the students' questions, but to ask them the right one in the first place. So I think in that case, I don't think NLP or AI will ever be smart enough to completely replace humans, which is probably a good thing, but I think that we're making some tremendous progress in the industry as a whole to make the process of communication a lot more efficient and a lot more beneficial for the users.
Thank you.
I think that's a wrap.
I think if you successfully replace all the teacher, I think we're all out of jobs with education. So.
Thank you guys for staying. Thank you, DLD, for having us. And that's a wrap. If you want to talk to any of the entrepreneurs, we'll be hanging out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.